Hey, it is 5:30 and welcome to the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City. This is Tuesday, June 17th, and everybody is in their places. I don't see anyone missing, so that's good. So we're all good. We have an agenda that has 5 items on it, and the first is the approval of minutes for April 15th, 2025, and May 13th, 2025, and I will take them together. If there are no questions or changes, I would appreciate a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes of April 15th, 2025, and May 13th, 2025.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Probably not. We'll continue on. So, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye. Okay. Now we are at the portion of the meeting which is for citizen comments, and all citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and email comments will be entered into the meeting record. So I will open this for citizen comments. Okay. Seeing none, we will continue on. Number 3 is a public hearing, which is to consider a resolution of the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City adopting its fiscal year 2025-2026 final budget. Brenda Moore presenting. Hi, Brenda. Welcome.
Hello, I really don't need an assistant, but it's his computer.
It's always nice to have one.
Yes. Okay, so we're here to discuss the RDA budget. We'll go over it really quickly by area, just to kind of get everybody familiar. We have fire clay. They're going to get 1.9 in increment, earn some interest. They have expenditures for low, moderate income housing of $663,000, private reimbursement, repaying the developers for work they did in the site, $850,000, the Murray School District, professional services, admin fees, and utility reimbursement, which is going to the solid wastewater fund for the sewer lines they put over there. The smelter site, it is no longer collecting increment. It will earn interest on the funds that it does have. We're going to pay out the rest of their low-income housing reserve that needs to be spent so that they will be done with that, and then anything in there can be used for anything that's appropriate for the RDA area. And we have professional services in there of $100,000 just so that they have money if we need to do any studies or anything sitting there. East Vine is going to collect increment of 49. We're going to send it some admin fees. We don't have any projects right now, but we will find some in the future. Cherry Street, it's no longer collecting. We are hoping to close that at the end of this fiscal year. Central Business District, we have the tax increment of around $1 million, the sale of the old City Hall of $9.5 million, interest, rent, that's on the T rows, everything else is vacant now. The general fund transfer for the property that we're sitting on, and then the expenditures, they have low-income housing, the private reimbursement of up to $4.5 million for the Block 1 development, Murray School District, professional services, admin fees, miscellaneous, just in case we need to do anything during the year so we don't have to come running if we need an appraisal or something. Admin fees, the bond payment on the properties that are around here. Any questions?
I have go back. Would you go back to the last slide?
That's a good question. Yep.
Okay. In revenue, you have sale of the old City Hall property as $9,520,000. We have not received that yet.
No, it's just budgeted because we will most likely receive it next year.
Okay, so we will receive it, and we can still put it as revenue?
We haven't received the increment yet either, but we will receive increment. It's my best guess, it'll be $1,053,000, but it could be different. But yeah, it's a budget, so if we actually don't sell the old City Hall property, we won't receive that, which
We'll just take it off?
you just passed something, yes, that said, or that gave them some more deadlines. So hopefully by this time, by Christmas, hopefully, we will have our money sitting there, and we can then be figuring out what to do with whatever's left over after the 4.5 goes out. So.
Okay, and it might seem kind of confusing if you don't have an understanding that.
Yeah, but it is under contract, so we should receive that at some point in the future.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I will open this for public comment. It is a public hearing, so anyone who would like to comment on this agenda item, now's the time. Okay, I'll close the public hearing and put it to the board. Does the board have any questions at this point for Brenda? Okay, then I would appreciate a motion.
A motion to approve the resolution of the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City adopting its fiscal year 2025-2026 final budget.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye. Thank you, Brooke. All right, now we are on number 4, which is an action item, and that is to consider a resolution approving an agreement between the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City and Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing DBA Neighbor Works Salt Lake for a contribution of funds to be used for down payment assistance and home improvement loans and grants for qualifying households. Elvon Farrell presenting. Hi, Elvon.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me
Good.
all right? All right, so as you know, with the RDA, we have about, from our tax increment, we keep a portion of that for housing projects. So from the tax increment that we get, the state requires us to designate a certain portion of that to go into housing. And we have often worked with NeighborWorks Salt Lake. It's been a long-standing relationship. We have an agreement with them that outlines what that relationship is. But in that agreement, it doesn't specifically say how much funds they'll be receiving each year. So each year we look at that and we consider a new fund allocation for NeighborWorks to run their down payment assistance and their home improvement programs here in Murray City. And so I just wanted to quickly give you an update from this previous fiscal year and the funds that we allocated to them. So this last fiscal year, we allocated $400,000, $200,000 specifically for down payment assistance, and $200,000 for home improvement programs. And then we also have our $150,000 in ongoing employee down payment assistance. So from those funds, starting with down payment assistance, they were able to help with 7 homes, which facilitated amount of over $2 million, which is meaning that's the value of those homes altogether that they were able to help with. And so with the home improvement and rehabilitation, There's one completed and 3 in the process right now. And so with the home improvement program, there's still a remaining balance of $20,000 in that program. But so that program typically takes longer. They have to do an evaluation of the home. They have to get bids from multiple contractors, and then there's actual the timeline for doing those projects with that home. So it takes a little while. But those 3 in process are already accounted for in those funds that we have designated to them. And then for employee down payment assistance, we have helped with 2 homes, and which has facilitated the amount of $503,000. So we're really appreciative of the work that NeighborWorks does here in Murray City. The new CEO, Bryce Garner, is here with us, and so just wanted to make sure you saw him and can meet him later or ask him any questions you'd like as well. But for right now, that's the report on the last fiscal year. We have recommended in the resolution and the agreement to do similar to what we have done in the previous year, where we do $400,000 and specifically designate $200,000 to each program to make sure that we're utilizing each of those programs. Any questions?
It sounds good, and that's what we had talked about, was $200,000 for.
Yeah.
I do have a question, though.
Yes.
You talk about here the facilitated amount, and you said that's the total price of the facilities that were able to be purchased or repaired with that amount. What was the actual amount that we gave for down payment assistance? What was the actual amount we gave for that?
Yeah. Most of those down payment assistance have a limit of $30,000.
$30,000.
For
Okay.
each of those.
So we had 2 homes that received the down payment assistance last year. So is that what it says on there,
For the
right?
employee down payment assistance.
Employee
So
down
we
payment.
had two
And 7.
employees take advantage of that
Okay.
program.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying that for my little thick skull. Appreciate it.
No, that's great.
I have a couple questions. 9 homes total, which is nice, but that's not very many. Why is it limited? Is it funding? Is it we're not finding AMI thresholds too hard? Like, why aren't we able to help out more people? That's my question.
So it is limited by the funding that we're providing. So they've utilized the funding that we gave to them. For getting the homes here in Murray, they typically need the whole $30,000 amount, not just a portion of that. So that does go rather quickly. And it is relatively few people, but you can also think of these as families as well, not just one individual, as most of these programs or most of these loans and grants benefit a family who is taking advantage of this program. But it is mostly limited by the funds that we provide to NeighborWorks.
So if we made, what kind of tweaks would we need to make to broaden it so more people could use it?
It need to increase the funds, yeah.
So are we turning away people?
Yes,
So if we had more funds, we would be able to help out more people.
yes.
So how did we get to 200,000? I know that's kind of been has that just been our historical number?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
400.
But 2 for down payment and 2 for,
Right.
so,
That's what we did last year, right?
Yes.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. that's
And
kind
we
of-
did run out of the down payment assistance funds
That's
last
right.
year in October.
Do we have the money to be able to increase it?
Yes.
Brenda's
Yes.
shaking her head yes.
Yes.
So if we were to do that, Brenda, could you come up and
Yeah, I will say, we've also kind of kept that at 400,000 in case there's other types of projects for housing that we wanted to utilize in the city as well.
So in the budget you just passed, there's a total of $600,000 that's available for low-income housing. And in the areas, all the areas combined, at the end of This year, I'm predicting there will be $3 million sitting there for low-income housing projects. This is going to use some of them because we'll probably only collect or increase based on increment and 300. So this, if you spend all 600, it would increase, it would use some of the reserves. But yeah, there's $3 million basically sitting out there.
So we could increase it by 200,000.
Yeah, you could easily increase it
Do
by
six.
200 without me having to do a budget opening, but throughout the year, you could increase it higher than that, and then come September, we'd have to do a budget opening, and that would be the first one, and increase the amount that we spend. But
So if we increased it to 6, then we can reevaluate that if,
you could reevaluate
you know,
it.
there's so much interest and has been, and if that continues, then might be something we might want to reevaluate and maybe start out at 600. Okay?
I would love to see it, maybe add the 200 down the road. Let's see what happens first, and then,
Because I want to say, you didn't come to us last year, but the year before, in the fiscal year, I feel like we used all 200,000, and mid-year, NeighborWorks came and asked for an additional 200,000. So maybe it is looking at a budget opening, and if you run out in October, maybe we're doing the next budget opening, we give additional funds then.
yeah, I think we could
So it's
revisit it
that.
then. I feel comfortable about that.
Okay, so then just continue with the 400?
For now, yeah,
Yeah.
idea of 400, and then if there's a need later on,
But yeah.
let's come back and revisit it.
But bring it
and add
back.
more money.
If we're out in October, we want to know.
Great. We will definitely let you know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
we all okay with that?
Yeah.
This is an action item, so is there further questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if you can answer or the new gentleman that is now part of NeighborWorks. Do we know anything of what's going on with Trip Lane and the houses and what's happening there? That is my district and my neighborhood, so I was just curious, because people are going, where are the houses, where are the houses? And I said, well, when we have an RDA meeting, I'll ask where the houses are. So I don't know if you can answer it or the new gentleman that you introduced us to.
That may be better in
Yeah.
updates, since this agenda item isn't
Oh.
that item.
Yes,
So
we can give you an
when-
update on.
Okay.
Check us at the
Yeah,
update
so you
early
could
80.
do that actually in the project update area. Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
we'd be
yes.
happy.
So,
I'm
Brian-
sorry, yes, thank you, GL, yes, project update, yes.
Okay, so since this is an action item, I would appreciate a motion if there are no further questions.
Oh, do you have a question? Okay.
So a motion to approve the resolution for an agreement between the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City and Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing Services, DBA NeighborWorks Salt Lake, for a contribution of funds to be used for down payment assistance and home improvement loans and grants for qualifying households.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none. Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. We are now at number 5, which is the project area updates. Chad Wilkinson presenting.
I was a little ahead.
Thank you.
I was ahead.
Chair, board members, I'm actually going to invite Elvon back up to give our Trip Lane update really quick before I jump into the project area updates.
I'm sorry, Chad.
No problem.
I even read my agenda. I should have known.
So Trip Lane has started construction on the first 3 homes. So we should have had something up here with pictures, but it is exciting. So they're going to start with those first 3 and then sell those and then go on from there, just to make sure that they have the funding to be able to continue the construction.
Now, way back, I don't know how many years, NeighborWorks was thinking that the I would buy one, I would own the house but not the property. Now, is it that they own the house and the property now? Is that how we understand these houses are going to be sold?
Yes, yeah, so
Okay.
it wasn't put into a land trust. And
Okay.
so it is going to be that whoever purchases it will own land and property.
Okay, great. I'm very, very excited with that and the junior high. So this is great. I'm very excited to see these houses go in.
Great.
Thank you.
One other question, that what's the asking price on those houses? I do.
They're going to be market rate. They're doing that intentionally to not drive down the market in the nearby neighborhood. And so they'll calculate that once they're getting closer to completion.
Thank you, Elvon.
Okay, thanks. We just want to do a really brief, this will be very brief, update on some of what's going on in some of these areas. We've talked about some of this information at our RDA planning meeting. Thought it would be good for the entire board to hear some of this information. We're going to start with the CBD area, Central Business District area. You've been very aware of some of the things that are going on. Wanted to just give you an update. We have been working on that parking agreement with Rockworth. We anticipate that at your next board meeting in July. So we have, again, been ironing out some of the legal wording in that agreement and hope to have that to you very soon. And we've incorporated much of what you talked about during your workshop into that parking agreement. So unless there's any other questions on that, that's all I had to say about that.
Okay.
Okay. Fire clay, we went through the budget numbers. Those were kind of the overall budget. Just want to talk a little bit, going to drill down a little bit. So we do have 3 active reimbursement or participation agreements in that area. So every year, once the tax increment has been calculated by the county and distributed to the city, we do our own calculations and distribute a portion of that tax increment money to these 3 participation agreement participants. So just to give you an idea what that is, Fire Clay Phase 1, which, as you're aware, is over on the west side of the, trying to get my cursor to come up with my finger, but it's on the west side of the tracks there. Fire Clay Phase 1, $376,000 roughly with their participation agreement disbursement this year. Hamlet, which was our first agreement in that area, which you know hopefully where that's at there on Fire Clay Avenue in Maine. That particular project was reimbursed for $255,000 and some change. And then the last one is Parley's Partners, which is Hooper Knowlton's project there up Main Street in Fire Clay on the other corner, the northeast corner of Fire Clay in Maine. That one received $119,000 and some change. So that's just an update on where we're at. We're also working on the annual report that goes to the state. That used to be called the November 1st report, and it used to be due on November 1st. That got so ingrained in some of us old timers' minds that we always think we have more time than we do. We don't. That's due at the end of this month. So we are working on that actively, and we'll have that submitted to the state for their review. And that's really that report. And when that's ready, that'll also be distributed to the RDA board. That really is just a summary of what have we worked on in the last year, how are we using these funds, what kind of increment was generated over the last year. So that will be done shortly. Any questions on the Fire Clay area? One last update, and that is the ore sampling mill RDA area. This one, we've had several meetings and with a couple of different folks. We've met with the primary property owner in this area, which is the owner of that ore sampling mill site, and discussed at some length the challenges that site has. There has been a significant amount of environmental remediation work that's been done. It, I think, has been even more than what was originally anticipated as far as cost and the amount of work that has to be done to remove some of those materials that are on the site. So we've had some good discussions with them about that. We have an agreement that limits the amount of increment that we're able to give to that project based on some projections of the generation. We've also met with representatives of at least one of our taxing entity committee, and there's also concern from our taxing entity committees about when do we pull the trigger on collecting that tax increment. We haven't pulled that trigger yet. Some of the considerations that we look at as far as when to pull that trigger are, has development occurred that will allow us to increase that increment? If you if you pull too early, then the increment that's generated is not what you projected. So we're looking at that very closely. There has been expressed by at least one of our taxing entities a desire for us to do that fairly soon. They haven't given us a deadline, but as a participant and a partner on this, they do have some interest in when we pull that trigger. So in the coming weeks and within the next few months, we'll be having a discussion with the RDA board a little bit more about what would be the best plan for triggering that increment. And also, triggering the increment also allows us to start to reimburse for some of the work that's already been done by that developer. So that's another important thing for us to discuss. So any questions on the ore sampling mill RDA area?
No? You look troubled.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my updates.
Oh, I know. Okay, that is the end of our agenda. We are adjourned. We are adjourned. I'm sorry.